Few players define my childhood of growing up as an NBA fan in the 2010s more than Demarcus Cousins. You can make the argument that there were very few bigs as dominant 2015-2016 as Demarcus Cousins. However, he had a steep decline and he hasn't seen NBA minutes in over 3 years. Injuries derailed this guy's career, so today we're going to be looking at the depressing career of Demarcus Cousins. Let's start in 2009. Cousins is a freshman at Kentucky under new head coach John Calipari. He's a 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American, and a member of a stacked 2009 recruiting class highlighted by North Carolina's John Wall. Kentucky got off to a roaring start, 19-0, and finished the year 35-3, second in the final AP poll, winning the SEC title in an Elite 8 appearance before falling to West Virginia. Cousins was fantastic, scoring 15 points, 9.8 boards, being named to the first team All-SEC, All-Freshman team, and the SEC Freshman of the Year. During this season, Cousins was given his signature nickname Boogie. Demarcus was a national force with his dominance inside, and he would declare for the NBA draft. The 2010 NBA draft was seen as one with talent high on the board, but also one with serious depth. Demarcus Cousins was seen as one of the best players in this draft as a traditional big with great finishing, post play, and rim protection. The Sacramento Kings would draft Cousins 5th, pairing him alongside reigning Rookie of the Year Tyreek Evans in what Sacramento fans were hoping could be the first real success they had had since the Chris Webber days of the early 2000s. The 2010-2011 season would get underway, and Cousins played great, averaging 14 points, 8.5 boards, and a steal, playing an amazing 81 of 82 games, finishing 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. Unfortunately, the Kings sucked at just 24-58, but fans had something to be excited for. Demarcus Cousins was the future. In a shortened lockout season, Boogie made a huge improvement, scoring 18 points, grabbing 11 boards, a steal and a block a game. Even with his improvement in production, the Kings were about the same, going 22-44. We need to jump to 2014 for Demarcus to put up his biggest improvement yet, upping his points to 22, almost 12 boards, 2 blocks, and a steal, becoming one of the best young players in the entire league and a top 10 center. There is absolutely an argument that he should have been an all-star this year but would be left off that list. That would have to wait till 2015 when Demarcus Cousins averaged 24 points, almost 13 boards, a steal and a half, and 1.7 blocks per game. These numbers not only got Cousins into the all-star game but also the All-NBA second team. Boogie's value was skyrocketing and the plan was for him to eventually sign an extension in Sacramento. The one big issue with Cousins was attitude. You see, he was like Rasheed Wallace light, leading the NBA in technicals in 2012, 2013, and 2014. People were concerned that it would get in the way of his play, but 2016 taught us that that was just not the case. Demarcus put up another career year at 26.9 points. This is when I remembered the Demarcus Cousins hype taking an all-time high, because at this point, Dwight Howard was toward the end of his prime and DeAndre Jordan wasn't quite there, and the rest of the big men were just not at the same level, so Demarcus Cousins was a nice change of pace. The only negative here was Cousins did have a slight Achilles injury early, and remember this because we'll come back to it later. But this year was another great year, another all-star and second team All-NBA, and Demarcus Cousins was a household name. He would suit up for Team USA and help them win a gold medal in Rio. Boogie was crucial, making plays off the bench, but after this, he would be put in trade talks. But Cousins made it clear he wanted to be a King long term, but that's what made the 2016-2017 season so surprising. Boogie had a career high year, 27 points, 11 boards, almost 5 assists with his normal block and steals numbers. He had even developed a 3-point jumper that was decent for the time, leading the league in technicals and ejections. The Kings publicly stated that Cousins was off the market, but on February 19th, 2017, everything changed.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Right after All-Star Weekend, the Sacramento Kings have traded Demarcus Cousins to the Pelicans.
There was a lot of discussion regarding this trade. It was the night of the All-Star game. Anthony Davis and Demarcus Cousins had just suited up together. Now, this is what the West would deal with every single night. Demarcus would be missing out on a massive $200 million deal by leaving Sacramento, but this new duo in New Orleans was absolutely terrifying on paper. But truly, the Pelicans season was far too gone, and the AD Demarcus Cousins duo took some time to get used to. They'd finished the year 34-48, 10th in the West. Boogie had now played 7 seasons without making the playoffs, but 2018 seemed to be his chance. The Pelicans started the year strong, staying around the 4th to 6th seed in the West. Demarcus Cousins was putting up another star year, being named to the All-Star team for the 4th straight season, and the front court of him and Anthony Davis, alongside Drew Holiday and Rajon Rondo in the backcourt, was working really, really well, being one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. But unfortunately, on January the 26th against the Houston Rockets late in the game, Cousins tried to grab his own board off a free throw and fell to the ground. We didn't know it yet, but this would be the last we would see of prime Demarcus Cousins Cousins at just 28 years old. It felt like the league stopped for the night. I remember exactly where I was. I was watching this game at home, as this was the year the Rockets were super tough, so every game was on TV. I loved watching the Pelicans, and my heart sunk when I saw Boogie grabbing at his leg. That big contract, gone. The opportunity to play in the playoffs, gone. The test results showed that Cousins suffered a torn Achilles, arguably the hardest injury for a player to recover from. He'd missed the remainder of the season. In the 2018 offseason, most people were connecting Demarcus Cousins to the Los Angeles Lakers with newly signed LeBron James, or returning to New Orleans with Anthony Davis. But on July 6th, we would get an absolute bombshell of a report. Roll the clip.
Breaking news. This is unbelievable news. Demarcus Cousins is going to sign with the Golden State Warriors. Yes, the Warriors. I'm not trolling.
Yes, you heard that right. Demarcus Cousins signed a one-year, $5 million deal with the Golden State Warriors at their prime. The Big Four became the Big Five because the Warriors officially had 5 reigning All-Stars in their starting lineup. This was insane. People were saying this move would break the NBA. Analysts called Cousins soft, a sellout, just wanting a free ring. But honestly, looking back, who could blame him? He had rotted in Sacramento. Then in New Orleans, when things finally got going, boom, season-ending injury. Cousins wasn't getting any younger, and he wouldn't even be able to start the year. In fact, he didn't make his return until January against the Clippers, and he played great. 14 points in 15 minutes with a monstrous dunk to start. We felt like we were watching the freaking Monstars from Space Jam out there. Demarcus Cousins was like the 5th Infinity Stone, and it felt like the Warriors were going to breeze to a three-peat. But in the playoffs, Boogie would suffer a quad injury, putting him out indefinitely, but he would return for the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, he just wasn't a factor, averaging just 8 points in a 6-game loss to Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. By the way, if you haven't watched my Kawhi Leonard video, you should. It'll be in the description. Now, in the 2019 offseason, there was some hope. Demarcus Cousins was building his reputation back. He was in very good spirits. He signed a team-friendly deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, pairing him up with LeBron and his former teammate Anthony Davis, and he was seen as the team's likely starting center. But in a workout in Vegas, Cousins tore his ACL. This man just couldn't catch a break. Before he left Sacramento, he had 1 season with 10 games or more missed. Now he's had 3 major leg injuries in 2 years. He would try to rehab, but the Lakers would cut him halfway through the year. In February, he would get a bubble ring because he was on the team, but he didn't play in the finals. In the 2020 offseason, Boogie was seen as washed, never to play at his former self again. On December 1st, 2020, the Rockets would sign Demarcus to a 1-year deal, and they would even bring his former college roommate John Wall with him. However, this duo was washed beyond repair, and the Rockets would cut Boogie after 25 games. He would play the final 16 games of the year with the Clippers, where he'd help the Clippers reach the Western Conference Final as the 4th seed. He was in a much smaller role, but he did his thing off the bench with an injury to Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers decided not to re-sign Cousins, and he was a free agent, and he wouldn't sign with anybody until November of 2021, when the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks would sign him to a short deal, literally just for depth, playing 17 games, averaging 9 points before getting waived. And now here we are. Cousins' final team in the NBA would be the Denver Nuggets, playing 31 games, averaging 8.9 points. He just was a shell of himself, with his one glimmer of hope being a 31-point, 9-board outing against the Rockets. This would be the last we'd see of Demarcus Cousins in the NBA. Today, Cousins is in Mongolia playing basketball overseas. He played with Dwight Howard in Taiwan for a little bit, and he seems to be doing pretty well. Boogie has no plans on making an NBA return and is officially retired. He now looks back on his career with a few regrets, with the biggest being staying in Sacramento for so long. Demarcus Cousins was one of my favorite big men of my childhood. He truly was exciting, and the technicals, ejections, they were fun. It's a shame his NBA career ended the way it did. Injuries truly suck. They ruin careers. I wish Boogie nothing but the best, as he seems like a super solid dude.